Sienna's sports bra was still on the floor when I walked in, and Elias's shoes were by the bed. I didn't need an explanation. I didn't ask for one either. The sweat hadn't dried on her skin, and she didn't even flinch when she saw me. Just held my gaze like she was daring me to break. I said nothing. I walked over to the nightstand, picked up the protein bar I'd bought her that morning, and dropped it in the trash. She smirked. "You should have knocked." I looked at Elias. His shirt was off, abs flexing like he was still performing. He gave me that same cocky grin he used to flash during deadlifts. I nodded slowly. "So this is why you've been hitting the gym twice a day?" Sienna stretched her legs like nothing happened. "You were always too tired." He wasn't. There were no screams, no accusations, just the slow hum of the air conditioner and the heavy silence between us. I turned around and left without saying another word. At home, I made coffee and wrote a list. By the time the sun went down, the gym was mine. The next morning, I walked through the glass doors wearing a black polo, clipboard in hand. Every trainer nodded, except Elias. "Grayson?" he said, eyebrows raised. "You here to fight or to cry?" I handed him the termination letter. "You're done. Clear your locker." He blinked, confused. "You serious?" Deadly. Sienna showed up 15 minutes later in tight leggings and a cropped hoodie, acting like she owned the place. She didn't know I did now. She saw Elias storming out, tried to stop him. "What happened?" He nodded toward me. "Ask your husband." She turned slowly, her expression unreadable. "What did you do?" I held the ownership papers in one hand, her membership card in the other. Then I ripped it in half and let the pieces fall at her feet. "You'll need a new trainer," I said, "and a new gym." Her lips parted like she had something clever to say, but for once nothing came out. Most people at the gym knew me as the silent guy who never missed leg day, the one who didn't talk much, didn't lift for attention, and never looked twice at anyone else's girl. I didn't need validation. I had discipline, drive, and until last week, a wife I thought I understood. My name is Grayson. I'm 32. I co-own 3 companies, wake up at 5, sleep before midnight, and until recently, believed routine was love's strongest foundation. Sienna used to say she fell for my control, the way I kept everything sharp, my hairline, my deadlines, my jaw. She'd trace my forearm when I held my tablet and whisper how she felt safe with me. But lately, safety didn't seem enough. She was fire where I was ice. Loud playlists, loud laugh, loud gym selfies captioned "chasing limits." We were opposites, but I mistook her chaos for passion and thought my quiet would keep her grounded. We met at a strength competition. She placed second, I placed first. She challenged me to a deadlift rematch after the awards. I ignored her. She said that turned her on. A month later, we were inseparable. 6 months in, we were married. Her friends warned her I was too calm, like I was built for storm damage but not warmth. She disagreed at first, said my silence felt like shelter. But as time passed, she started testing the walls. It began with small jabs. "You never get jealous." Then longer nights out with friends. Then gym sessions that never matched her calendar. Still, I never chased, never questioned. I believed trust meant letting her breathe. Elias was one of my biggest mistakes. He joined the gym a year ago, our gym, then co-managed by a firm I owned partial equity in. Charming, motivational, the type who flirted with every client but kept it just under HR's radar. He trained Sienna privately, said they had chemistry. I believed it was professional. Sienna insisted I was paranoid the one time I asked if she felt anything for him. "He's just my trainer," she said. "You're my husband. Don't insult me." That night, I cooked her favorite grilled salmon, lit candles, even played her throwback playlist. She smiled, kissed me, whispered that I was overthinking everything. 2. Weeks later, I walked in on them. The weird part? I wasn't even angry, just still. Like everything I'd ever planned suddenly didn't matter. I spent that night on the balcony, watching the city pulse. I didn't cry, didn't scream. Just drafted an offer letter to the gym's current owner. Business is numbers. I made mine right. 3 days later, the gym was mine, and their memberships were history. Sienna didn't beg. Not at first. She said, I was being dramatic. Said I should have fought for her instead of firing him, like betrayal was a prize and the winner had to scream loudest. I stared at her and said, You already chose your corner. That's when she blinked, realizing I wasn't bluffing. She hated it. The silence. The fact that I wasn't breaking. The fact that I didn't ask her why or how long. The fact that I never once called her a cheater. But what would have been the point? The man she wanted me to become, the jealous, raging husband who throws punches and begs for answers, that man doesn't exist. I've never been him. And I wasn't going to become him now. Instead, I made decisions. Quietly, efficiently. I revoked her access to the gym. I deleted her fingerprint from the smart lock. I moved her boxes into the guest room. I had Amara, my assistant, update our joint accounts and freeze any card she used for lifestyle expenses. Sienna came home that night and found the silence brutal. She dropped her gym bag loudly, waited for a confrontation. None came. She stormed into the kitchen. You're really not going to talk about it? I sipped my water and nodded toward the microwave. Your dinner's inside. Eat before it gets cold. Her voice cracked. I made one mistake. I raised an eyebrow. One? She stared at me like I'd slapped her, then turned away. You're heartless, but she was wrong. I wasn't heartless. I was done. Sienna didn't cry right away. She played it cool for the first few days, like this was just a little fight I'd get over. She still did her hair in beachy waves before walking around the apartment in crop tops, humming as if nothing had happened. Like I was the one overreacting. Like her body under someone else didn't count, because her heart hadn't packed its bags yet. That was her first miscalculation. The second came the morning she showed up at the gym, pretending she forgot her key fob. She wore the black leggings with the thigh mesh she knew I liked, tossed her hair over one shoulder and asked, Can we talk? I didn't even look up from the clipboard. This is a business, not a therapy lounge. Her lips curled. Oh, so that's what we are now? A transaction? Weren't we always? I replied, walking past her like she was any other member of the public. She didn't follow me in. Later that night, she left her phone face down on the counter. A rookie. Mistake. It lit up once, then again, then again. All from Elias. He's just trying to make you feel guilty. I told you, he doesn't see you anymore. Come to the new gym. I'll train you for free. Don't let him mess with your head. He's playing games now. You deserve better. I didn't open them. I didn't need to. I slid the phone across the marble, right in front of her as she ate pasta in silence. You forgot to silence your cheerleader. She didn't even pretend. Just looked up and said, You were supposed to fight for me. My fork stopped midair. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You slept with someone else, and I was supposed to, win you back? I made a mistake, she said sharply. You were never around. You work too much. You don't even look at me anymore. Maybe because I was busy paying for the roof you moaned another man under. The silence that followed was glass sharp. She stood up, knocking her chair back. I can't talk to you when you're like this. You mean honest? Her chest rose and fell like she wanted to explode, but instead, she just turned and walked into the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. 2 hours later, she emerged, in a tight mini dress and heels, her lashes dramatic, her lips blood red. I didn't ask where she was going, I just said, Check your account before you try to pay for anything. She paused. I cut the lifestyle card, I added, without turning from my laptop. The real world charges interest. She scoffed and walked out. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. But in the morning, the war began. She posted a photo on social media, cropped tight, sultry gym mirror selfie, with Elias blurred in the background. The caption read, "Training. Hard. Healing harder." The comments were exactly what you'd expect. "Girl, you're glowing. Leave him. He doesn't deserve you. New body, new beginnings. Revenge body in progress." Amara texted me. "You seeing this?" I replied. Of course. It wasn't the betrayal that stung. It was how casual she was about it. How disposable everything we built had become in her hands. Like it had all been one big warm-up before she switched partners mid-set. Then Elias made it worse. He posted a reel from his new gym, hyping his star client, with Sienna walking out of frame in slow motion, like she was some kind of trophy. Didn't get angry. I made a call. The landlord of Elias's rented gym space had once trained at my facility years ago. We'd helped him recover from a torn ACL. I made an offer he couldn't refuse: prepaid lease on a larger, better space, and exclusive branding rights. By the end of the week, Elias's new gym had 30 days to vacate. When the news broke, Sienna came home in a storm. "You're ruining his life because of me?" she shouted. "No," I said. "I'm just cleaning up mine." She stood there, eyes wide, hair falling into her face, waiting for some sign that I still cared, that I was hurting, that this was coming from pain. But I wasn't bleeding. I was building. And that scared her more than any yelling ever could. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't tell anyone. That's not how I process betrayal. Instead, I reorganized my schedule, cleared unneeded meetings, started my workouts earlier, cleaned my apartment like I was preparing for an inspection I hadn't been warned about. There was a hollow echo inside my chest I couldn't shake. Not sadness, not anger. Just something like grief, but colder. Not because of the cheating. That I could almost understand. People are weak. They reach for whatever distracts them from themselves. No, what haunted me was the quiet realization that she hadn't looked back even once. 3 years of partnership, hundreds of late-night protein shakes, recovery ice baths, vacations built around marathons, meal prep Sundays. And she unraveled. It all like it was an inconvenience. That meant everything I believed in had been one-sided. Sienna still walked around the apartment like nothing mattered. Some nights she stayed out. Other nights she'd cook dinner and hum under her breath while I stared at numbers on my screen and pretended not to hear. She wore the perfume I used to buy her in bulk, hoping it would trigger something in me. It didn't. Or maybe it did, but not what she wanted. I wasn't confused. I knew what I felt. I felt alone. Not the lonely kind that craves companionship. The kind that comes when you realize someone was never standing next to you to begin with. You just imagined they were. Every time she crossed the living room in another revealing gym outfit, part of me wanted to ask her why, what she was chasing, what void Elias was supposed to fill. But the other part, the colder, sharper part, didn't care anymore. And that part was winning. I sat in my office one night, lights low, staring at our wedding photo. She was smiling, chin on my shoulder, eyes full of fire. Back then, I thought she'd chosen me because she believed in my strength. But maybe she was just trying to tame it, and when she realized she couldn't, she ran to someone easier. Amara stopped by with contracts that needed signatures. She looked at the photo, then at me. "Why haven't you taken it down?" I didn't answer. She sat down, quiet, then said, "You don't have to prove anything, not to her, not to anyone." I gave a slight nod but didn't meet her eyes. That night, Sienna came home late. I smelled Elias on her skin before she even spoke. She stood by the bedroom door and said, "You know, you never even asked me why." I turned the page of my notebook slowly. "Because it doesn't matter." She hesitated, then added, "I was scared." "Of what?" I asked, finally looking up. "Of disappearing in your shadow. You're everything, Grayson. You're always perfect, always composed. And me, I needed to feel wanted, not just protected." I closed the notebook. "You wanted chaos. You got it." She didn't reply. Stared at her for a long moment. You know what hurts most? I said finally. You could have said that, before, without tearing everything apart. Her shoulders slumped. Would you have listened? No, I admitted. But I would have respected you more. That left her speechless. The next morning, she made breakfast. It was her way of apologizing without saying the words, but it was too late. Scrambled eggs can't fix damage that's structural. I ate in silence. The pain wasn't sharp anymore. It had dulled into a quiet, constant pressure, like a weighted vest I wore under my skin. I could still function, still build, still win, but nothing felt clean anymore, and maybe that was the real betrayal. Not what she did, but what she took away. The part of me that believed love, when built slowly and intentionally, would last. Now I knew better. 3 weeks passed. Sienna hadn't moved out, but the distance between us grew louder than any shouting match could have. We were coexisting in silence, sharing walls, not words. Then came the day the letter arrived. It was from Elias. No return address, just bold black ink and clean-cut handwriting. I almost tossed it without opening it, but curiosity outweighed indifference. Inside was a printed contract, a formal lawsuit notice. Elias was suing me for unjust professional sabotage and defamation, claiming emotional distress and lost income due to his gym's closure. Attached were screenshots, social posts, business logs, and one photo of Sienna smiling beside him in their new makeshift training space. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, a real, sharp, humorless laugh. He wasn't just coming after me. In bed, he was trying to come for my reputation too. I picked up my phone, called Amara. Get legal on this now. And I want surveillance footage from the day he was terminated. Full record. Also dig into his credentials. If there's even a crack, I want it widened. She didn't ask questions. Already on it. That night, Sienna walked into the kitchen, in my old hoodie like nothing had happened. She poured herself a drink, then casually asked, "You're really going to drag him through court?" I looked at her without blinking. He started it. Her tone sharpened. You already took the gym. Isn't that enough? I took back what was mine, I said coldly. He chose to take it further. She hesitated, then added, if this ruins his life, I won't forgive you. I stood up slowly. Then I guess we're both out of forgiveness. She flinched but didn't speak again. The next day, Amara sent me a folder. Elias's entire past was a performance. Fake certs, expired licenses. He'd rebranded more than once after injuries, and settlements in 2 different cities. Every time a scandal bubbled up, he skipped town and restarted. This time he'd picked the wrong name to challenge. I compiled everything, evidence, statements, testimonies, and handed it to my lawyer. We filed a countersuit for false claims and breach of contract. It wasn't just personal anymore. It was public. The story made headlines in fitness blogs and local news. Trainer sues former gym owner, gets exposed for fraud. Sienna found out before I told her. She came into my office, phone in hand, face pale. Why would you destroy him like that? I didn't even look up. You backed a fraud. I just made sure the world knew. She stepped closer, voice rising. You're not even doing this because you care about me. You're doing it because your ego's hurt. I closed my laptop. No, I'm doing this because I warned you what would happen if you made me choose between you and my principles. She stared at me, eyes stormy with confusion. I never asked you to do that. You did the second you made loyalty optional. There was nothing left to say. Elias's sponsors dropped him. His gym lease was terminated early. His reputation burned to the ground. I didn't enjoy it. I just watched it all unfold the way you watch a controlled demolition, calculated, necessary, cold. Sienna stopped going to the gym after that. She stopped looking me in the eye. Whatever control she thought she had vanished the moment her fallback crumbled. I wasn't a man she could manipulate. And Elias was no longer a man she could lean on. That's when I realized the second twist wasn't just the lawsuit. It was this. Sienna hadn't cheated for excitement or love. She cheated to feel powerful. And now she was powerless. It happened. On a Thursday. The office was calm. I had just finished reviewing quarterly projections when Amara stepped in. "She's here," she said quietly. I didn't need to ask who. Sienna walked in seconds later, her steps soft, deliberate. She wasn't dressed in leggings or a gym set today. She wore a pale beige blouse tucked into tailored black slacks, hair brushed out in soft waves. For once, she looked like she wasn't trying to impress anyone, just trying not to fall apart. She sat down across from me without asking. "I know we haven't talked," she began. "But I wanted to do this face to face." I nodded once, "Then talk." She looked at the corner of the desk, not at me. Elias left, packed up and vanished. Just like that. I didn't say a word. She shifted. "You got what you wanted?" "That wasn't what I wanted," I replied calmly. "It's what he earned." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. Instead, her voice dropped. "You know, I keep thinking about the first time I saw you at that fitness expo. How you didn't even look at me. Everyone else did, but not you." I said to myself, if I could make him notice me, I'd know I was worth something. I leaned back, arms crossed. "That's your mistake. You wanted to be noticed. I wanted to build." She smiled bitterly. "Yeah, you were always building. A future, a business, a legacy, and I was just decoration." "You were my wife," I said sharply, "not a centerpiece. You made yourself small because you refused to stand still long enough to grow." Her eyes glistened. "Do you really think I never loved you?" "I think you love the idea of being loved," I said. "You just didn't know how to stay when it got quiet." She blinked, hard. I stood, walked around the desk, placed a file in front of her. The cover said, "Final Asset Separation Agreement." She stared at it. "So that's it?" "Yes." "After everything?" I paused. "You asked if I got what I wanted. Let me answer that clearly. I wanted to believe you were worth fighting for. I wanted to believe we could be something other than this mess." Her bottom lip quivered slightly. "But you made your choices." "And I made mine," I finished. She whispered, "I don't have anyone else. That's not my problem." "Please," she said, voice shaking. "I'll go to therapy. I'll quit the gym. I'll cut everyone off. I'll do anything." "You already did everything," I replied. "You just did it with someone else." She slammed her hands on the desk. "You're heartless." "No," I said, stepping back. "I'm just finished." That's when it happened. She got up, stormed toward the glass door but stopped halfway, turned around and dropped to her knees. "I'm begging you," she said softly. "Please don't throw me away." It should have moved me, but it didn't. Because behind those words, I still saw the version of her that looked me in the eye after sleeping with Elias and said, "You should have knocked." I crouched down slowly to her level. She looked up, searching for mercy. "I forgave you the moment I walked out of that bedroom," I said. "But I also decided then, you were never coming back." Her hands clenched into fists. "So that's it?" I stood. "Yes." She stayed on the floor. I turned and walked out of the room. That night, I went to the gym alone. No playlist, no distractions, just silence and the dull rhythm of my heartbeat. Every mirror reminded me of her, but none of them showed me the man I used to be. He was gone, and in his place was someone colder, sharper, more exact. The man I had to become, because she broke the old one. As I wrapped up my final set, the manager approached me, nervous. Sir, there's a woman at the front desk. Says she's your wife. Refuses to leave." I nodded. "Tell her I terminated her membership. Remind her what that means." The manager hesitated. "She's crying." "So was I said. "No one cared then." I left through the back. Later that night, she texted, paragraphs, voice notes, missed calls. I didn't open any of them. Not because I was cruel, because I'd finally chosen myself. And that was the biggest confrontation of all, not between her and me, but between who I used to be and the man I'd finally become. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Monday afternoon. She didn't wear makeup, didn't try to look put together. For once, Sienna looked exactly how she felt, ruined. She didn't fight the settlement, didn't argue over the terms. She just stared down. At the table, lips pressed tight, hands folded like she was praying for the strength not to beg again. I watched her sign. Clean strokes, no hesitation. When the pen dropped, she finally looked up. "So this is really it," I nodded. "This is the part where you let go." She blinked slowly. "I lost everything." "No," I corrected. "You gave it away. We stood up at the same time." She looked at me for a long moment, like she was hoping I'd reach out, say something warm, but I didn't. I turned and walked out. Outside, Amara waited in the car. She handed me a folder, final transfer records, new gym ownership papers, client renewals. "We're up 20% in subscriptions since the Elias fallout," she said. I nodded. "Good. Let it climb." She paused. "And her?" "Leave her alone." Amara tilted her head. "You don't want to see what she posted?" "No." But she showed me anyway. It was a photo of a takeout meal on her countertop with the caption, "You never realize what you had until it's gone." Comments underneath were split, some pitying, others vicious. "Girl, you did this to yourself." "Grayson leveled up and you stayed bitter." "No coming back from this one." She'd tried to paint herself as the woman who'd made a mistake but deserved redemption. But it was too late. People had seen everything, and receipts don't lie. 3 weeks later, the gym hosted a private event. I stood at the front of the crowd, microphone in hand, announcing the expansion of 2 new locations. Clients clapped, partners shook my hand, cameras flashed, reporters asked about the lawsuit. I answered with a single line, "Integrity always wins." That night I got an alert. Sienna had gone live on her account. Curiosity won. I clicked it open. She was crying, makeup smeared, hair messy. She looked nothing like the woman I'd once married, only a hollow version chasing a memory. "He said I gave it all away," she whispered into the camera. "Maybe I did. Maybe I thought he'd never leave." The comments were a flood. "You cheated and still expected him to stay? You lost a king trying to play with boys. No sympathy, he built everything. You just watched him bleed." She ended the live early. I turned off my phone. There was nothing left to say. By the end of the month, Elias was blacklisted from every major training facility in the city. The background check reports I leaked had quietly reached the certification board. His license was permanently revoked. He posted one last video of himself ranting about being set up, claiming he was the real victim. Nobody cared. Sienna tried to rebrand as a fitness influencer. It didn't take. Every photo, every caption, commenters brought up the past. She tried to delete the old posts, tried to scrub the truth, but the internet doesn't forget, and neither did I. One evening, I returned home to a small box left at the concierge desk. Inside was a note in her handwriting. For the years that meant something, it was the protein bar I'd once thrown away, and her wedding ring. I didn't reply. I donated both. Months passed. The silence grew comfortable. Amara and I spent more time together. Business lunches turned into late-night strategy sessions, which turned into weekend getaways to scout new gym locations. She never asked about Sienna, never tried to fill her place. She just stood next to me, not needing to be chased, not demanding to be worshipped, not trying to tame me. She matched me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was dragging someone through life. I felt like someone was walking beside me. One night, as we drove back from a new property deal, she asked, "Do you ever miss her?" I thought about it. "No," I said. "I miss the version of me who believed she loved me. But I don't miss her." Amara nodded and turned the radio up. Nothing more needed to be said. 6 months after the divorce, I was invited to speak at a conference on resilience and leadership. During the Q&A, someone from the back asked, "What was the turning point in your personal life?" I didn't flinch. "The day I stopped proving my worth to people who enjoyed breaking me," I said, "and the day I realized peace is more powerful than revenge." But revenge, I'd still taken mine. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't exposed her with scandals or messy drama. I'd simply removed everything she took for granted, one calculated decision at a time. She wanted power. She got silence. She wanted chaos. She got indifference. And in the end, she wasn't destroyed by my wrath. She was buried by her own reflection. Bold ending. I didn't win her back. I won myself back, and that was all I ever needed.